Okay. So, hello everyone. I extend my warm greetings to all the attendees present over here. On behalf of the Biology Society, I, Sonali Umanath, the head of events, welcome you all to session one of book discussion on the book The Curse of the Self, written by Mark Leary. The Biology Society, or TBS, is a global student community which aims to provide a common platform for all the biology enthusiasts. Our members are engaged in various biology related activities as well as events. To know more about our society, you can visit our Linktree website. And to join our society, you may register through our membership form. The links to both these will be provided in the chat box. Talking about today's book discussion, we are taking the book The Curse of the Self, written by Mark Leary, which talks about the impact of self-reflection on personal development. This journey of book discussion might help you discover some of the answers to questions that you've always wondered of. To begin with, today we'll be discussing chapter 1 and 2, and we will be having a short quiz in between, the winner of which will be given a shout out on our social media platform. All the attendees are requested to be actively involved in all these discussions, and voicing your opinions by unmuting yourself or giving your opinion in the chat box. Our speakers for today are Dheeraj and Aishwarya, and Pauravi will be joining us for the quiz. Over to you, Dheeraj.
Yep. A very warm welcome to everyone and good evening all. First, I'd like to ask the question: how many of you guys have read the book? Like a few guys have answered saying yes, so the rest of you guys haven't read the book. I just want to know, like everyone, can you put in the chat box yes or no, something like that, so that I'll have an idea. So if you haven't read the book, that's nice actually. That's okay. That's not nice, but that's okay. Uh, and there'll be questions basically, so it's a discussion, right? So you needn't read the book to join in the discussion, so don't hesitate to unmute and just answer for the questions. So it's a discussion, so you can just put forward your opinions and anyone can unmute, and if no one's unmuting, I'll just take the names. So don't worry if you can't unmute or not, it's fine. So Sonali, can you present the screen? Can you go to the third slide? Yeah. So basically, before starting the book, there's this preface, right? So a lot of people avoid that, but I personally read the preface because you get to know what the author is trying to let us know through the book, right? So it's really important. And to make things easier for you guys, I just selected these few lines from the preface. So the curse of the self is about the personal and social problems that result from self-reflection, egocentrism, and egotism. I wrote it for readers who want to understand why they, like all other people, have such difficulty finding a peaceful, happy, and satisfying life they desire. So basically, that's the intent behind why the author, that is Mark R. Leary, wrote the book, right? Can you go to the next slide? So yeah, the chapter one is the self-aware animal. So here a discussion starts. So what do you guys think what do you guys think? What does self-aware animal means? Any idea? Anyone?
I think it's mostly like self-conscious,
Mm-hmm.
knowing about our actions, knowing about what we do, and ability to think.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else?
I think it's about self-consciousness and the fact that we can introspect and also reflect. That puts us apart from the rest of the animals.
Yeah, that's a wonderful answer. Yeah, just keep that in. We'll be talking a lot more on that in the following slides. So yeah, the next slide, Sonali. So basically, I just wanted to know what you guys think about self-brand. That's it. Uh, you can go to the next slide, Sonali. So yeah, introduction. There will be a lot of memes and comic strips involved too. Don't get distracted though. I mean, look at it, laugh at it, and just forget it. So yeah. So the basic introduction starts. I think the author did a really good job. I mean, choosing the introduction, he laid the perfect foundation towards the book. I read the first two chapters, and the first chapter is completely introduction only. But I think he built the foundation very well. It's a personal opinion, but anyone who has read the book will say the same too, I guess. So basically, he just starts off the story where in the early 1926 or something. Back then, no one was really courageous enough to ask these questions like why do we exist, who are we, I mean, all these philosophical questions about life, right? And it was all laid out for us already, and we just and it was laid out for everyone, and no one were given this freedom to basically question anything at all. It was all written already in the religious texts, and we were to live, abide to them, and just die. That was what used to happen back then. I mean, leaving out a few exceptions, that is. I mean, a few exceptional people made it out of that loop and started to think for themselves and all. But these are exceptional cases. But leaving that aside, a majority of the society just lived like robots. They just believed in what the Bible said about. I mean, Bible in the Western world and over here. I mean, depending on the religion, the religious text, they just believed what the religion told them and just lived by those laws. And that's it. That was life for them. But in 1926 or something, around that time, there's this man who challenged that view. He was like, maybe we belong to a lower class of animals too, millions of years ago, maybe, and we just gradually evolved into what we are today. And this idea was a fantasy because a lot of people like to believe they were different and different from animals, privileged when compared to animals. People just like to believe that they are superior, right? And this was a collective thing basically back then, and now to it still exists. But back then it was being challenged. It was in its initial stages, right? So this certain man challenged this certain law that stated that anything that goes against the Bible should not be taught in the schools. This was actually a law in 1926, and there's this science professor, I forgot his name, but he challenged it basically. And to his surprise, a lot of people actually understood what he was trying to say. A lot of people believed that maybe we, I don't know, ascended from animals. Though we were maybe just normal animals trying to survive, trying to reproduce, trying to survive, trying to find food and all that. And slowly, as time went by, we developed this thing called frontal cortex, and we developed this really complex brain and complex, just complexified everything else, and we are now what we are. And this was a revolution, you can say, in one sense. And a lot of people started accepting this thing called evolution, and then a lot of scientists backed this idea, and there was a lot of evidence to support all these claims. And today you can say a majority of people believe in evolution. And before we go forward, I would like to ask, like, all of the people over here are interested in biology and science. So I'm curious: is anyone do? I mean, what do you guys think? We are here where we are because of evolution or because of some, I don't know, divine work? What do you guys think? I mean, feel free to just put out your view. No one will judge you. Don't worry. What do you guys think?
Yeah, we evolved,
Okay.
yeah, from our ancestors, and we have evidences
Hmm.
for that.
Yeah. Anyone else has a different view? If you have a similar view, you can unmute, of course. But if you have a different view, I'm more curious to hear that. Evolution, okay. Evolution.
Okay, so I don't think evolution and religion are like two mutually exclusive things. I
Hmm.
think like the divine creation, the way it's described in religious texts, it's interpreted like incorrectly. I think, yes, God created the world, but through evolution. This was my view.
That's an interesting view. Yeah, could they be both? Yeah, exactly, Madhura. I think that's what Karen is also trying to say. That's an interesting view. Yeah. Wow, I never thought of it that way. Interesting.
Yeah, there's a book on this, like the director of NIH, the previous director. It's called The Language of God. I haven't read it, but
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know.
Like evolution was kickstarted pretty much. Yeah, that has some logic in it. Yeah. And
I feel
anyone
like
else with any other different view?
I feel like our physical traits may have been through evolution, but when it comes to our consciousness, it feels divine.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm not saying that animals don't have a soul, but it's just that we have some other. You can really say that we, as human beings, we really set apart from the rest of the animals.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
I think everything
so
is a
those
coincidence.
who, you know, so those who talks about the divine creation, so we should think and look at the facts that so everything that exists in the nature in the new universe today can be explained. So if we especially talk about us or the life on Earth, it totally can be explained by the evolution and it need not to have a creator at all.
Hmm.
Yeah. And when we talk about consciousness, at the end, it is a mechanism. Yeah, we evolved with the time. Yeah, it can be by consciousness is also physics and chemistry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I'll ask you to unmute again in the following slide. There's one slide where we'll talk about something. I'll ask you to. There's this thing called cultural Big Bang. So I'd want you to unmute. I mean, at that slide too, because over there maybe your view might be challenged. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Up.
Yeah. And anyone else? Someone was trying to say something, right? So you can unmute and speak now.
Well, I typed it out, but anyways, I think everything is and was a coincidence that we just evolved out of nothing. Fish one day decided to roam around on the land, and we evolved.
It's a game of coincidence, you mean?
Yes, I mean, if it weren't for the fish saying that it has a brain that it started to roam around, we wouldn't have been here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, let's move forward then. The next slide. So yeah, let's dig deeper into this thing. Like there was a question, if you guys recall, a few days ago on the Discord server, question of the day: what makes us different from animals? And a lot of answers came by. And I don't know if anyone noticed. I also put up an answer. It wasn't exactly an answer, but I told that on Sunday's discussion about on the book, The Curse of the Self, we'll be answering this very question. So yeah, here we are. And don't look at the main though. I mean, you can look at it and laugh at it and forget it. So yeah, what makes us different? What do you guys think? Like, if I keep a chicken beside me, just imagine a chicken over here and look at me. Like, what makes us different? What differences can you guys see? So answers.
Okay, so I think it's our, yeah, our ability to like wonder about our own existence, like why we do the things we do instead of like just
Mhm.
following our instincts.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly as someone wrote, like self reflection, self consciousness.
Mhm.
That are the two major things It makes us different, I guess.
Hmm.
I feel like the ability of humans to think about the future and make decisions accordingly is something that makes our species different from the rest of the animals.
Yeah. Uh,
I think there are other
And
features as well.
also, yeah, please.
Okay. I think there are other features as well, like, abilities, certain abilities that humans don't have and other animals do have. Or, I wouldn't call it a ability or a disability, but it's simply a difference. That's it. Like, for example, the frequency that dogs can hear, the frequency that we can hear, it's very different. It's just different. And here, like we can see in the meme, so we just know that they're different. It's not that just because dogs can't see colors or something like that, they um, are not able. They know how to make their living out of it, and I think that's a great ability. You can go ahead, Mohabbat.
Yeah, so except planning and thinking about future, we human can remember our past and past memories, and we can feel happy about that. And
hmm.
sometimes we can regret also.
Hmm. All right. Uh, okay, so basically, what makes us different? From what I think, I'll share my perspective. So, from what I think, it's to if you keep it less complex, it's just self-awareness, and that's the chapter one, right? The self-aware animal. We are animals too. We shouldn't forget that we are a part of nature too. But what makes us different is we have this thing called self-consciousness. Animals have consciousness. We have self-consciousness. I think that's the main difference. And there's a lot of complexity which this self-consciousness causes, and it just makes everything different. At least everything seem different to us. And this is a one liner answer, right? But the author doesn't leave us over here. He takes us deeper. He makes us dig deeper into this question, and lays down this entire analysis, trying to explain what exactly makes us different. And there are a few things that make us different, not just self-awareness. If it's a one liner, it's self-awareness, of course. But there are a few things that follow, right? So we'll discuss on that too. The next slide. Okay. So I told you guys, right? This a certain story, 1926, what happened. And after that, people started thinking like we are different. Of course, we know that, but how are we different? And a lot of things came up, like tools. People told that we can use tools, and whereas animals cannot use tools. But this was challenged because like a lot of animals use tools, not exactly the at the same complexity of the tools that we use. Like they don't use tanks, they don't use grenades and all, but they use tools in their small different ways. Like beavers use tools, right? A lot of other animals use tools too. And then a lot of people told that maybe it's this intelligence factor that makes us different, but that was challenged too in a few years because it was proved that a lot of animals might just have uh, a better intelligence than us, right? There was this study a long time ago that dolphins have a better IQ than humans. That is being challenged now and keeps evolving. But yeah, a lot of animals are more intelligent. But even if we deem and just just tell ourselves that we are more intelligent than animals, looking around we cannot agree to that, basically, because yes, we did form a great society, and I'm not getting political over here, but we do destroy the earth, right? That isn't an intelligent thing. And these are the words of the author, and I agree to that, right? These aren't my views exactly. So don't think I'm getting political over here. And communication. This was another thing that people pointed out towards. But again, this was challenged too because communication a lot. Every animal communicates with each other. I mean, with their species, but but they don't use words, right? They just use other things like calls, like dolphins use ultrasonic and all of that, sonic waves and all. So communication isn't a factor too. So tools, intelligence, and communication, these were thought to make us different. What differentiates us between animals, but they were proven wrong in the coming. I mean later years basically. Sorry. The next slide. Okay. So we just laid down this foundation that we have self-awareness, we have, self-consciousness and all of that. Before proceeding forward, it's really important to know what we mean by self. I'd like to ask though, does everyone agree that we have a self and animals don't have a self? Before starting out, we should clarify that first, right? Is there anyone over here who thinks that animals have a self too, or maybe we don't have a self? Anything's fine.
I think animals have a self as well.
Okay.
I think animals
Alright.
have.
Some animals like dogs and cats.
I
So
do
maybe.
think that.
Mhm. Okay. All right. So let's just land on a common ground then. Let's just take this self and let's just say we are different from animals and self is the reason. And let's maybe try changing the definition of the self and maybe then we can meet at a common place, right? So I'll just read out what the author says. As I'm using the term self, as I'm using the term, self refers to the mental apparatus that allows people and a few other species of animals to think consciously about themselves. Of course, all animals can think in the sense that they process information about themselves and their environments, but few are able to think consciously about themselves or about what they are doing. Only animals with a self, those with the cognitive ability to focus their attention on and think consciously about themselves, can think deliberately about themselves, form images of what they're like, a self concept, evaluate themselves, and react emotionally to their self evaluations, talk to themselves in their own minds, and purposefully control their own behavior with some conscious goal in mind. If we just conclude that this is the definition of self, do you guys still think that maybe a chicken has a self too?
I mean, probably a very rudimentary self, but I mean, not a self.
Yeah. Yeah, rudimentary self. I can agree on that. Yeah. Anyone else would like to say anything? All right. So let's just conclude on this point. Then maybe animals have a rudimentary self, and we have a more complex self, right? Yeah. Going forward, the next slide. We're just going on forward with the question, digging deeper into what makes us different, right? So this is a comic, you can go through that. And what difference does a self make? We now meet at a common ground where we agree that we have a self and that makes us different. But what difference does a self make? That is worth answering. So if anyone has any view on that?
Here, when we talk about this ourself and the definition of self, does it mean personality, like a difference in personality, or does it just simply mean what is the difference between our thinking style?
All right. Anyone else? Gargi says a self can make 7.8 people different. Okay. All right. So let's just move forward then. I mean, there are more questions to follow, so don't worry. We'll have the discussion going on. So yeah. Okay. So there are a few things that the other things that having this self gives us these things, and having a self uh, allows us to plan things, right? Planning, perhaps the most important. I'll just read out, right? Planning, perhaps the most important consequence of having self is the ability to plan. All planning requires the ability to think about oneself so that one can play out various future events and imagine the consequences of one's actions, right? So this session was planned, right? I don't think an animal can do that. Okay, so jokes aside, but basically, we can plan basically what we want to do. This thing called future, we can think about our future, right? And not a lot of animals can do that, though there's a bit of evidence stating that a few animals can do that. They can think about the future, and a few I mean there were a few studies that challenged this, and many common examples are part of that study, like squirrels just gather the food before winter comes and store the food so that they can eat it later, right? A lot of animals exhibit this behavior, but this was challenged again, saying that they do it out of stimuli. They don't consciously plan it. It's just there's this there's this word I'm forgetting, but it's not anything related to the self. Basically, they don't plan to do it exactly, but they just do it. But we as animals, we as sorry humans can plan certain things and execute it, and whether it happens or not is a different thing. But we can at least plan. Anyone wants to unmute and talk about anything regarding planning? Anyone wants to challenge this view, or anyone wants to agree and just put out their perspective, can do that.
So would you say beavers don't plan when they build a dam?
I'd say they do, but I don't. I mean, as we just agreed on, it's a rudimentary self, right? So they just do it out of not. I won't say exactly out of habit, but it's something on those lines. At least that's what I think, and it becomes a bit more clear if you read this certain chapter. And yeah,
But
did that
even
did
for
that
that
make sense?
matter,
Yeah, yeah.
even the nests that birds make, the places where they make all of that, the kind of material which they use is according to the place where they make. The comfort. The situation, whatever that is. So that is also a sort of planning that the bird does, so that it does not have to face any problem in future. So that kind of challenges this concept a bit, I feel.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. It makes sense. Yes, but it's again part of being animal, right? I think it's again part of being animal. That's what an animal does. It's not exactly what a being with a self does. Does it make
Exactly
sense?
as it was discussed, like rudimentally said, right?
Yeah.
We do have it, but not at such a level that we humans have it.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh,
Does it seem to be a major planning in humans because we interact and we understand each other's language? But at the same thing, when birds interact, obviously we don't understand that. But I think even they interact, they plan their migration, they plan, like the others said, making of nests in a particular location and things like that. It cannot happen without interaction, and we know that animals interact.
hmm. Okay.
Um,
So just
do you think
yeah.
that our planning is set aside because it doesn't depend on our survival? If we plan to go out to the mall or something, that has nothing to do with our, shelter, clothing, or food, or anything that we depend to survive on. So is
Yeah.
desire coupled with planning here?
Hmm. That's interesting. I think, yeah, I think yeah, that's a good point that you made. Like being an animal, if you're an animal, you plan things for survival. If you're a being with conscious, if you're a being with a self, maybe it's not just about you know living. You can do things maybe for your own self desires or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe that.
but I think many of us have come across funny videos where animals, say a monkey in a zoo, plans to like steal something and run away, even if that is a short-term goal. That is still
Yeah.
some sort of planning that is not dependent on survival.
But I don't think a monkey thinks and does it out of fun. I mean, just for the sake of fun, right? Do you think so?
Yeah, maybe they are naturally snatchy or
Hmm.
yeah, possible.
Yeah, but they don't like exactly plan out things and do it, right? They just do it out of their instinct, I believe. What do you think?
Well, it does sound very monkey-like, so probably out of their instincts.
Yeah. I'll just take the chat box too.
So to some extent, animals can plan or can do the things consciously. So it's like we are the topper in the class and other animals are the backbenchers. It's a matter of degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. Mariam, you said, so are you saying what sets our planning apart is our desire to obtain? I'd I'd rather not speak about desire now because that's a really complex thing, and maybe let's have a discussion on that sometime later. So
Maybe
for
there's a
now, we'll
different
just
book for that, like the selfic gene or something like that. That would explain desire and stuff like that.
yeah. So, I mean, I personally believe desire is a really it just I don't know requires a separate discussion. It's a really interesting topic to discuss on, and I don't think it exactly fits into this discussion that we're having right now. So yeah. Okay. So let's move forward for now.
Was I audible when I said that? Was I audible when I said that we are the topper in the class and animals are the backbencher in the class of consciousness?
Hmm. Okay.
Hello,
Yeah, you're audible.
am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay.
Okay. So planning is one thing, and decision making and self control. I think. Okay. I'll just read that out first, and maybe let's have a discussion on that later. A self also allows people to make deliberate decisions to control their own behavior. With the ability to imagine what may happen in the future, people can make decisions to avoid problems or take advantage of opportunities, often well in advance of the time when those decisions can actually be implemented. Selfless animals do not have that option. I got a bit agitated with selfless animals, but yeah, I don't think anyone should get offended with that. But yeah, so basically, decision making and self control. The other things, this is another difference. So, anyone wants to say anything regarding this?
Could you repeat the question?
Uh, okay, so basically, it's the same question. What difference does a self make? And the other things that we as humans have a self, right? And animals don't. And because we have a self, we can make decisions and we have this certain thing called self control. If we have an urge, be it whatever, sexual urge, any urge, we can control it, while animals cannot. And this is something that the author highly agrees on. So, what do you guys think?
But there are several exceptions to that rule. Rapists exist, for example.
Yeah.
And then even in animals, you have some animals that just won't eat even if they're hungry. And if a sick animal won't eat if it's hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. I personally think that's a really good point. self-control has many exceptions, not just a few, many exceptions actually. But decision making, what do you think about that?
Do have a good decision.
Sorry.
Am I not audible?
Now you are. Can you repeat that?
I was just saying कि animal do have a good decision making. Even it's
Animals.
because of their you know evolutionary powers, like they can smell and think कि ये हम खा सकते हैं कि like cow में they used not to eat that cardiac arrest वाला plant and like those poisonous plants.
Hmm. Okay.
Humans often don't know what's good for them. They'll still eat junk food, even if they know it's full of.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, we're bad at making decisions. I can agree on that. I can completely agree on that. Okay. We'll discuss on this in the next slide, I guess. Yeah. Go to the next slide, Sonali. Yeah, self-conceptualization and evaluation. Though we are bad at making decisions, and we are bad at control. Animals, even if they exactly don't follow their own commands, and they cannot control themselves and make bad decisions, they cannot evaluate. Like, they don't ruminate over those facts, over those mistakes that they did. And this is a good pointer, I guess. An animal with a self can create a mental representation of itself, allowing it to think about its own characteristics and behaviors. This representation may be visual, like I can see myself in my mind, or verbal, I can label, define, or characterize myself. I personally don't think any other animal except for a human can do this. I mean, there's no evidence to prove that maybe animals can do or maybe animals cannot do. Maybe we'll have to wait. But I personally think that only humans can do this. So, what do you guys think?
Well, there is the mirror test that many animals seem to have passed. I think elephants and chimpanzees,
Hmm.
probably even dolphins. I'm not sure, but that
It's,
I,
it's
they
chimpanzee.
probably do have a concept of self, but I'm not sure about their behaviors.
Hmm. Yeah, it's chimpanzees, by the way. I mean, it was mentioned in this very sub chapter, but it
Oh,
was
okay.
proven that it's not exactly that they have a mirror image. And I mean, they do. Chimpanzees. There was this interesting study, I guess, in 2006 that was conducted, and it was proved through that study that chimpanzees do have a sense of self, but they don't take that self seriously, right? They don't ruminate over their behavior as humans do, and that just makes us different, I guess. I mean,
I'd
you
like to
can
object
go
to
to the
that.
chat. Yeah,
Dolphins,
okay.
they have really complex behaviors, and
Hmm.
dolphins, just like humans, they can get depressed. Like if somebody, if somebody, they get attached to somebody and that somebody leaves them, then they can get depressed. There was this really controversial study of a man who had sexual relations with a dolphin, and when the man left, the dolphin went into depression.
Hmm.
Even
Yeah,
it
I mean,
happens in
dogs again.
dogs too.
Sorry. Yep. Sorry, please continue.
Oh no, I think Mariam was speaking.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's it. I was just hinting at the mirror test.
There was someone else who unmuted and tried to say something, and
Uh,
I
I was saying that dogs do feel this depression behavior, they do feel depression.
hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I can agree on that too. Like a few animals exhibit this thing called depression, extreme sadness, extreme happiness, and all of that too. But I'm curious though, like there's no study to back anything up. So and that's why I said we have to just wait for further studies, I guess. Anyone else want to say something? Anything? Or we'll just move on. All right. So now in the next slide. Okay. Introspection. This is a tighter version of what we just discussed previously. Although an animal without a self thinks, feels, and behaves, it cannot think about thinking, feeling, and behaving. In contrast, human beings can contemplate their own thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Not only are we alive, but we also know we are alive. I personally love these lines, these specific lines. So we're not only having a good time, but we can also think about what a good time we are having. We are not only in pain, but we can also wish the pain would go away. We not only see the tree, but we can also think about how pretty the tree is. We are not only sexually aroused, but we can also think consciously about the object of our arousal and our reactions to him or her. We not only think, but we can also think about our thoughts. I'll just give a few moments to let that sink in because I think the author did a really beautiful job in writing those words. So what do you guys think about this? I mean, this is just a tighter version of just what we just discussed in the previous slide. Um, Anyone wants to unmute and say anything?
Yes, so if somebody like beats up a dog and then leaves it in the street, and like the dog is dying, so won't the dog wish that the pain goes away? Like, you know, a dog that's really hurt really badly, uh, abused by its owners or something like that. So won't the dog wish that the pain goes away?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it surely should. Being an animal, it should wish that it should go away, but yeah.
And then animals like dogs and cats, they have favorite foods, favorite toys. They know what, I mean, if you give them a banana and you give them dog food, they'll know what dog food is. So they have preferences.
Yeah.
And then they have a favorite sweater, a favorite toy, you know, stuff like that. So so
Yeah.
I don't
Maybe
know if
there are
these
a few
lines
exceptions.
apply to dogs and humans equally, but you know, I mean, I sense some exceptions here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think like wanting the pain to go away is different from consciously wishing that it will go away. That makes sense. And again, like having favorite foods and all, they know that it'll make them happy, but then thinking about that happiness, like that's an extra level, right? So it's hard to like study that and even prove that animals experience those things.
Yeah.
It could. So, yeah, that's what
I
I was
think
thinking about. Yeah, whoever was speaking, go ahead.
Yeah.
my network is very unstable.
You can go forward.
I think I should write in the chat box. मेरा network बहुत unstable है.
Yeah,
Okay,
please write in the
try
chat.
putting it in the chat. Yeah.
I'm not clear about the
I just had an
line. Not
interesting
only are
thought.
we, sorry.
No, sorry, continue. Please continue.
Okay, yeah, the line, not only are we alive, but we also know we are alive. Is this like talking about the concept of death? Because I think some animals, at least the wild animals, are very aware of death on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure even they know they are alive and can appreciate life.
I'm not sure about the last part, the appreciation part, but I can agree to the first part, the
But
awareness
you know,
part.
animals, they don't contemplate the meaning of life and the meaning of the deeper happiness.
Yeah. Exactly.
They don't think why do I exist? Why is this world? Why is my human so good? They don't think these things.
Yeah.
They might not know that who they are. So like they don't know about themselves.
That seems fair.
Hmm.
like appreciating life or thinking that I'm alive. It's a little complex to be thought or be think by animals.
Hmm. I just had an interesting thought though. Maybe there are, I mean, just as we discussed, we have exceptional cases in every subtopic, right? Introspection, we've had exceptional cases. Decision making and self control, we have, exceptional cases. And planning also, we had a few exceptional cases. But combined together, when we consider all those points, maybe humans can do everything, and maybe an animal that can introspect cannot, plan or something like that. What do you guys think about that?
It's like the difference between a BMW and a Tesla. The BMW and the Tesla can do the same things, but the Tesla can just do them better.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Anyone else wants to add on?
I would like to add on. Uh, since the second line is saying it cannot think about thinking, feeling, and behaving. I think it's a contradictory line for me. If a dog is dying and that person whom he loves so much, he will of course you know, uh, break out his tears for that honor. So it's a contradictory line.
All
And
right.
suppose there are four people standing in front of a dog, and of course he will go with that person whom he shares his love and bond. He remembers that person whom he is playing with is a person, and he remembers all the feelings and love and everything he shared it with. So it's a contradictory line here. They do remember. They do remember, even it's a part of their fundamental life. What they have fundamental, it's they do have food. They want to eat food. They need shelter. They need everything. What basic fundamental things. If we are providing it, but that doesn't mean that
Maybe
they
author
don't
is
know.
talking about thinking about thinking, so that so if someone cannot remember, or think about his remembering, or think about his memories, like
Hmm.
introspecting, he cannot introspect about his feeling, like that. He may have ownership or belongingness, but he cannot think about those things,
Just a second.
like
How do we know
putting these
what
things
animals are
aside
thinking
and
about or not?
looking giving a overlook,
That,
like
that's
animals feelings.
Yeah, Mohammed,
How are
that
we?
makes sense.
No, how are we
I
so confident that these thoughts don't cross their mind? Because apart from, I guess, scans or anything else, there's no real way of figuring it out. All we just have is behavioral evidence, and they mostly rely on survival.
Yeah. As of now, we just have behavioral evidence, and based on that, we just conclude on things. But yeah, exactly. There's a lot of research still that has to happen for us to point out and say that this is what is actually happening. We still have to wait. At least that's what I think.
Yes, yes, yeah. Even we don't know about our consciousness, how it works. So we know the biological part, the chemical part of the brain, but we don't know where the real consciousness lies. So we got signals from outside world, the senses and the perceptions, but and then we brain analyze and we respond. But where does the actual layer of consciousness lies? So that is a
Mhm.
still we need to figure out. So
Yeah.
yeah, you are right.
All right, guys.
We can't know, or we don't know that yeah the animals can introspect or not, you know, or they have feelings like introspection or not? Yeah, we can't answer these things. So you're right.
Yeah. All right, let's just move forward then. Sonali, the next slide. Uh, okay, so this is another differential factor. Perspective taking. Essentially, they could imagine in their own minds what it might be like to be somebody else based on their understanding of themselves. We can attach ourselves to identities. We can attach ourselves to ideologies. We can uh, you know just tell ourselves that we are the certain thing, we belong to a certain sect and all of that. But I don't think animals can do. I mean, animals, they can, choose a group where they want to stay and where they don't want to stay. But beyond that, they don't do that. They don't exhibit that kind of behavior. But when it comes to animals, the self that is humans, it becomes really complex. It's just, going deeper and deeper into the same question, into what we've discussed till now.
Yeah, an animal's loyalty to the pack is more of an evolutionary than behavioral thing. Like wolves, packs of wolves, they have like an alpha male and like the other wolves. So yeah.
The alpha male kind of just made me laugh. I mean, yeah, when it comes to wolves, of course, but still, it's a funny thing that in today's world, still humans think about this thing called alpha male and all of that. And
we have a new thing now, the sigma male.
That will come in the following chapter. Yeah, the sigma male. Oh my god. Okay, jokes about, but yeah, it'll come in the following chapters. All these kind of things. But for now, let's just move forward, guys. Okay, the search for the self. This is a really interesting chapter. I mean, sub-chapter you can say, where humans nowadays, especially, are in this quest to define what a self. We define what a self is, and people do a good job. But this search for the self. What is the self? I mean, the definition doesn't, satisfy this quench or thirst that we have, right? Or whatever definition it is, it just doesn't answer us. Even if it answers us, we don't have perfect evidence to say that, yeah, this is what the self is. So yeah, this is another meme. You can just go through that. And anyone wants to share anything regarding the search for the self, like any experiences, like anything like that, existential crisis, whatever it is.
Yeah, guys, I'm just gonna apologize if somebody receives messages from me by accident. So I'm trying to send messages in the chat, and I'm accidentally sending them to one person. So yeah. What was the question, Dheeraj?
So, existential crisis.
Yeah,
existential crisis. Animals can't have existential crisis.
Yeah.
You get a dog. You can't. The dog's not gonna think, "Who am I? What is life? Why am I?" The dog's not gonna think about these questions.
Yeah.
What is life if not to suffer? The dog's not gonna think about that.
Yeah. Okay, since we're on, I mean,
I believe that I believe that existence is not a crisis, but it's maybe a question like that, because our being, we are here. That's the most beautiful thing. How it can be crisis.
So I'm gonna ask an open question to everybody. Why do you think human beings commit suicide? Why do people want to die? And are there any animals that would feel suicidal or the need to die? Since you mentioned existential crisis, so I just thought I'd bring up suicide as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it's an open question to everybody.
I don't know about animals, but I think some people, out of helplessness or hopelessness, it could be either due to mental stress or financial stress. There are many reasons, really. but I think they might. I don't know why I'm under the impression that a few animals tend to be suicidal. I have no evidence for this though.
Yeah, speaking of animals, remember that dolphin I mentioned like a few minutes ago? That dolphin tried to commit suicide after that man left her. So yeah, it was pretty messed up. You can read about it. I'll put it in the Discord if I can find it.
Okay, guys, let's do one thing. Partha's question, you can try answering on the Discord thing. For now, let's just move on. And self-awareness in animals, in other animals. This is an interesting chapter. I urge everyone who hasn't read yet to read this because, I mean, just as we've discussed that we have many exceptional cases where animals exhibit a few behaviors that we think only humans do, but he concludes it in a way that where he explains that maybe only humans have this privilege or ability to do everything that animals cannot. I mean, selfless animals cannot do. So you can just take this as a homework. I don't know, and you can just read it out. So yeah, let's go to the next slide. Okay, the evolution of self-reflection. So basically, I'm sure everyone might have heard of this thing called Big Bang, right? That the entire universe came out of this thing called Big Bang. A huge explosion occurred, and then life started, like gradually just evolved. And after billions of years, we are here where we are. But there's this thing called cultural Big Bang, which happened a few thousands of years ago. Yeah, like a few thousands of years ago, which is called cultural Big Bang. And the reason why it's called a cultural Big Bang is it gave rise to this explosive emergence of present-day humans. Like if we look at the fossil record and check, we find these ape-like creatures that kind of sort of resemble humans, and they kind of sort of have the same. You can't say the same intelligence, but yeah, a rudimentary self. You can say they have the rudimentary self, but there's a missing gap, there's a missing line between the present day humans and these rudimentary self animals, right? And this certain gap is what the author likes to call cultural Big Bang, because like evolution usually gradually happens, right? But somewhere in between it just the scale just massively went up, and this was called cultural Big Bang. And this chapter is really interesting. It's a bit long, it's a bit
last few years, and or some industrial innovations we did in last 200 years. So that's that's also a significant development. So we should think about the same about the cultural Big Bang. Yeah, it was the period of like 2 lakh years. So it's considerable time that we could evolve in a like we are now. So culture, so the society's language, the writing skills, or making religions, all these things. So I look at like this.
yeah, interesting. Just a moment.
Basically, it doesn't give a excuse, to involve anything like a creator or divine to come in between to to make these religions and cultures and like that.
Okay. So the dark side of the self is an interesting chapter again, sub-chapter again, as these are the words of the author. As we will explore in subsequent chapters, the capacity to self-reflect distorts our perceptions of the world, leads us to draw inaccurate conclusions about ourselves and other people, and thus prompts us to make bad decisions based on faulty information. The self conjures up a great deal of personal suffering in the form of depression, anxiety, anger, jealousy, and other negative emotions by allowing us to ruminate about the past or imagine what might befall us in the future. I believe this can be led to a great discussion where a lot of people might, just not agree to this or disagree and all of that. But don't worry, we'll not have a discussion on this since we're running out of time. But in the following chapters, there are a lot of pointers that people think are contradictory, and I think we can have a discussion later. Basically, the author just thinks that as much as we appreciate having a self, there's a dark side to this, and there are, I mean, any problem that you can name basically arises to the self. The next slide. Uh, okay, so but before that, it's like a disclaimer that the author tries to point out, which is the point of this book is not that the self is bad or that it ought to be eradicated, but rather that the same ability to self reflect that makes us wonderfully human and underlies the best features of civilization also creates havoc with people's lives, leading to suffering, selfishness, troubled relationships, disastrous decisions, and behavior that is dangerous to ourselves and to others. The self is at once our greatest ally and our fiercest enemy. And many of the biggest struggles each of us faces in life are either directly or indirectly the doing of the self. Understanding how the self creates many of our problems can improve important insights into the nature of the human condition and offers solutions for how we can counteract many of the detrimental effects of selfhood. So this is a self-help book at the end of the day, right? So basically, he just points out, he just gives us the idea what the self is, and he just tries to show us the dark side of the self too, and maybe understanding all of that can help us make better decisions maybe. So yeah, that is the idea behind the book, and this is the end of first chapter. So chapter 2 will be discussed by Aishwarya, and thank you for the discussion, guys. Aishwarya, you can take from now.
Thank you, Dheeraj. Sonali, will we have the quiz or not?
Yeah, so guys, we'll have a short quiz right now. I'll share the game pin. It'll be on Kahoot. I'll share the link as well. Please give me a moment.
We're having a quiz.
Yeah, I'll put up the link for that in the chat box. I'll send the game pin as well. Just give me a moment.
Where's the game pin?
We need a pin to start
Yeah,
the
one
game.
second. I'll just send it.
Hey, Sonali, any issue?
No, it's just loading. It's taking a little time. It's right in the last stage.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put it up. That's the game pin, you guys. You can access it. Please type in your actual names.
I don't see any questions on screen.
People are still joining. 11 have joined yet. There are 18 in the meet, so I'll wait for a minute. Yeah, okay. So I don't think anybody else is joining. So let's start it.
What was the correct answer, though? I got it wrong, so.
It was actually the last one, the fourth option. Wow, everyone got it right. Great.
It was pretty darn obvious. Does this game have negative marking?
No, it doesn't. Interesting. The answer was ethical. 2 people got it right.
These questions all seem out of proportion.
Intrigued was the answer.
Wow, I'm in sixth place, 30 points behind Karen.
It's actually not out of proportion. Okay, that's interesting.
Let's go. I'm in fourth place.
Yay! Oh, I like the way there is a variation. I actually expected everyone to get the true or false right. What makes egoism different from egotism?
I used to think they're the same thing.
That's why we have a quiz.
Bruh.
You got it right. Great. Which of the following is not right to improve self-awareness?
It's pretty obvious, actually.
True.
Wow, I made it to the top 5.
Yay. Okay, so the results of the quiz will be announced in the end of the session. Right now, I want to hand it over to Aishwarya for the explanation of the second chapter and having a great discussion on it.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. I like the quiz. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I just wanted to ask, is there anyone who has read the second chapter?
I started
No.
2-3 pages.
Okay. Anyone else?
No.
Okay, I'll just summarize it then. In the chapter, author basically talks about that how we live in two different worlds. One is our mental world, our self-created world, and the other is our present world. Okay, and how our self, what we create, takes us into a lot of problems. In the end, he'll just talk about how we can quiet it or we can get excluded from it so that we can benefit. Okay. So Nali, you can share the screen.
Yeah, I'll do it. 1 second.
Yeah, you can switch to the side.
You want the next slide or this slide?
Yeah, next slide. Okay, the chapter starts with this quote. The person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thoughts, and so he loses its touch with reality. When I first read it, I was like, okay, wow, why haven't I ever thought about it? Like, we do it all the time. We are in a constant world of our like a mental world. Our fantasies, our thoughts, and all those things. And it does happen, like, we lose the touch. Someone is saying something, and we'll be like, what? What? You said something? And we are so much engrossed in our thoughts. So I just wanted to ask if anyone's there who wants to share some experiences or something like that regarding this, just to start the chapter. Anyone?
ओके तो मेरा फर्स्ट रिएक्शन यही था क्या
Yeah.
I used to think all the time and even the author जिसने लिखा होगा वो भी सोच ही रहा हो how can he say this?
I'm sorry. Is she not audible or is there connection?
Yeah, I don't have any specific examples, but often it happens that I'm overthinking stuff to the point that it's hours and I realize that I've got stuff to do. I can't hear you guys. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that.
I guess
So
there's a connection problem from my side. I'm sorry. Just a second.
might be my side as well. I have my VPN on, so
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
yeah, you are.
Yeah. Sonali, you can change the slide, I guess. Okay. There's a message in chat box, I guess. Reality. Yeah, you can say that. Okay. The next heading or subchapter, you can say, who is talking to whom? In this, the author states that it is us who are questioning, it is us who are answering. But it wasn't the fact that people used to know that we are talking to ourselves and we are answering it since earlier stage. Like, we developed it, we evolved it, we got to know about it much later. Okay. Then, as it states, in fact, we talk to ourselves so often that these inner voices rarely attract our attention unless the questions are difficult or the answers distressing. But why do we talk to ourselves? And why does thinking about oneself seem like a conversation? Who is talking inside our heads? Exactly. Like, who is talking inside our head? What do you guys think? Why do we have a tendency to talk to ourselves or talk to someone who we think will answer our questions in the mental world? And why don't we indulge in real life talking, real life interactions? Why do you think we have this tendency?
It's a complex interplay of like hormones and neurotransmitters, I guess. We don't have a definitive answer to why do we talk to ourselves, because we know that dogs don't talk to themselves, or like lesser animals like sponges, they don't have a nervous system, or like a cow doesn't talk to itself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, we don't really have a definitive answer to this. I think there might be some papers like in neurobiology. I might be wrong, but I don't think there's an answer to this yet.
Yeah, I also think
Yeah, adding on to
that. Yeah. Someone was
yeah,
facing
I think
something.
adding on to that, viewership. Yes. So I think it's just the way our neuroscience works that we form images of ourselves and we just interact with ourselves, or rather this image that we think is ourselves. And yeah, so it's just the way our neuroscience works. There are a few papers on in neuroscience that do that. We don't know why, but we know how, something like that.
So if we don't indulge,
Or
into neurobiology for this, like who to whom we are talking. So, like when we think about something, so we get the counter opinions. So what other things can happen to this? So like that, we got another aspects of things, on another context.
yeah,
So
exactly.
that's why
That is
it's
a
helpful.
comfort place sort of thing.
In this book I was reading, I think it's called
We
The Power of Now. There's he mentions the author mentions about a higher conscious self. So if you're talking to yourself, obviously there's one side of you that you like, an inner side of you is. So you're actually backing yourself up. There's a question posed by the other side, but you're the one answering. And so the one answering is the higher conscious self, which is very, very tipsy.
That just sounds like schizophrenia with extra steps.
Well, it happens on the daily, I guess.
Yeah. I personally think there's no one to criticize. Like, if we are wrong, we can tell ourselves, no, no, it won't work. It would, like, we are favoring ourselves in a mental world, right? No one will object it, something like that. We are creating that world that is our self world to comfort ourselves, like, okay, this won't happen. Okay, this is like that. Like, this is my personal opinion. Anything? Or we can move to the next slide.
So
Okay. Self
thinking to
preoccupation.
self is like kung fu shadow fighting. So it's like kung fu shadow fighting. Mm, there a fighter in air, and imagining a one person in air, the same way the thinking is.
Yeah. Okay. So going forward, like we are so much engrossed in our mental world that it distracts us from our real life. Okay. The self is often engaged whether we need it or not. People live in their inner worlds when there's no pressing reason to do so, and even when it pulls them away from attending the life in the external world. We
Hey,
know
there
that
there
if,
there might not be a good reason for doing so, but it's fun.
yeah, that is what this book talks about, right? Like we are having fun in a mental world, then we say like, okay, do shit with real life, right?
Have you ever
But
heard of this thing called lucid dreaming?
yeah,
Yes, so those who engage in that, it's pretty fun. When you first start off, it's like scary, but when you get addicted to it, then you just can't stop doing it, and then you spend all your time sleeping. So
so don't you think that is a bad thing?
it is, but it's fun.
Yeah, but
So
that is what.
Parthsarthi, do have lucid dreams? You personally have,
I think
Parthsarthi?
I had a lucid dream like once, and the other time when I did, it was so fragile that by the time I realized I was dreaming, the dream bubble just popped. So
So I know a friend of mine. He says that he some
hello.
in sleep he knows that he's uh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Mohammed, your voice is
Hello.
breaking.
Yeah,
Hello?
my internet connection is not stable, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
could you just repeat what
continue
you
your part,
said?
Sarthi.
No, just repeat what you said. You were saying you have a friend
I
who.
I'm saying that, yeah. He said that he knows, he can control his dreams. He can control the whole dream, but he cannot wake up from the sleep. So he have to be in the dream.
That sounds like a
Maybe
dangerous
he has
condition to
dreamed
have.
enough and he want to be wake up, but he can't.
That seems like a dangerous condition to have.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the dangerous, really dangerous. Yeah.
So that tells us that we should keep it safe, right? Okay, like this discussing, we get so much involved in that mental world. Like he was saying, it can have side effects. Okay, it may be fun, but it has the side effects. Like on the longer run, it may lead to anxiety. It may lead to restlessness. Like, what is happening? Why am I in my mental world, and why I'm not participating in the real world? Why is it happening?
This is why we need to legalize
It talks
drugs.
about no, we don't. Okay, we can move to the next chapter, I guess. Okay, just a sec. I guess the network lose. We and we can continue with
Yeah, we
chapter
can have the discussion.
measure. This talks about how the simple things, which we are even expert at, becomes a whole lot of a big deal when someone's watching or when something's at stake. I really like these lines, which the author included. The centipede was happy, quiet, until a toad in fun said, "Pray, which leg goes after which?" This worked his mind to such a pitch, he lay distracted in a ditch, considering how to run. Like centipede has, I guess, natural instinct how to walk with all those legs. But if someone will ask how to, please describe it or how, yeah, it is a poem. It is a part of a poem. How to do it, it will get all messed up in mind, and we also have this tendency, like we have all been there, I guess, when we are writing answers and our invigilators come to us, we are like, oh my god, please go so I can write peacefully. It all gets messed up. What we want to do, what we want to write next, even though we are thorough with the topic, even though we know every bit about it, but if someone's there watching us, we'll be like, okay, I need to think about what to write
So,
next.
is
It
that a
might
poem
create
by the
an
author
impression
himself,
on.
or is it like a poem by an actual poet? Who's the poet
Yeah, it
behind
is
this
a
poem?
poem by actual poet. I don't remember his name. It is mentioned
Okay,
in the book.
okay.
Yeah. So this all it discussed in this chapter that we get so involved, like if someone's watching, and why this happens because our self, like the self keeps knocking. You might create a bad impression. He might judge you after this. He might have thoughts about you like you don't know anything, or if something's at stake, if you're about to win something, like what will happen if I don't win it. what will be my condition, what will my coach say, and all those things. Uh, Anyone wants to say about this?
Yeah, I have experienced this a lot, and I feel like all my mental energy goes towards dealing with that external pressure rather than actually doing the job at hand.
Exactly.
And I actually like
And
the way it is written over here. And when I read it, I myself was confused about which leg the centipede actually keeps first. And I imagined it. So I think it's actually well written, this part.
yeah, I would suggest everyone to read this, especially because we'll relate to it. Actually, the whole chapter is something that when you'll read it, you'll be like, okay, I've been through this, I've been through this, I've been through this. And the way the author describes it is fantastic.
Actually, it's interesting that we call ourselves, we are self-control, we can do self-control, we are self-aware, but billions of people don't even control their pressure, and it's very hard for human to control it.
Yeah, we are under self control, but the control is like of our self esteem or something like.
I
It
think
might
I
be hard.
I think we go beyond always from the fundamentals. We always try to sharp everything.
Yeah, kind of like that.
I think it's a problem in general in Asian society that we try to be the best. Like we try to get straight A's in our college. We try to not be a disappointment to our parents, if that makes sense. And we
That
try to
is
be the
something
perfect
we are
try to be the perfect man or woman that nobody can judge. So that often
exactly.
leads to a lot of stress and depression and stuff.
And
Yeah.
I want to add on, this makes animals different from us.
Yeah, animals don't care. Like I mean, animals. I mean, so animals. I don't think they have. I mean, they might have a concept of the self, but they don't have self-awareness, so to speak. I mean, you can see examples of this every day. Like you're at a party, like at a wedding, and you just see two dogs just randomly walk into the party, like they own the place.
Yeah, and that actually makes them better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dogs are based
And
AF.
yeah. We can move to the next chapter. Yeah.
Don't you mean the next page? You keep saying next chapter. There's only 2 chapters in this discussion.
Oh, sorry. Intuition and insight. Here, the author talks about like we have intuition, we have insight, we want to follow something, which is often correct. Like our instincts are often correct regarding any decision that we want to make. But we have this tendency to analyze or overanalyze things so as to keep the self satisfied. Like I have done my research, I've explained all the possible things that can happen, then I'm taking the decision. But it often tends up to be like if we follow our instincts or the gut feeling that we have, that often tends to be right. Like it's explained, our conscious self simply does not know of the factors that affect our reactions, and when it tries to analyze our preferences and decisions consciously, it may get them wrong. We are aware of various things. Our conscious self knows almost everything, but the instincts or the intuitions that we get are often a step ahead because it will consider those things that we don't want to consider to to judge ourselves or something like that. This talks about all those things. So, any views?
I think there is like a huge role of our environment and our experiences that I think it plays a major role in this, especially because our obviously when we talk about intuition, it's like it's something inbuilt. And I think even animals have that because the moment I've noticed this even in pet animals, that when they make a mistake and they know they've made a mistake, and when the pet and the owner reacts to it, they keep it in their mind and they don't do that mistake again. And something similar, humans obviously we can express it out. So even they can express it out. But humans tend to learn from their experiences, memory, and sometimes it's sometimes that we don't remember, have a memory of it ourselves, but it's sometimes that we just know that it's wrong, something that we call sixth sense, or something that it's right. So I think environment plays a major role in it.
Yeah, I quite agree with that environment point. Anything else from anyone?
Yeah, I mean, adding on to what Sonali said, I think experience plays a huge role in shaping our intuition. And like we see many working professionals like detectives and all who can, identify criminals within an instinct based on their intuition. So, yeah.
Yeah, that whole over analysis thing, I guess that happens only with humans, analyzing every detail, what could happen, what could not happen. And that often deviates us from what we were about to think, what our major goal was, right? Next slide. Here, the author discusses what are the problems we face by being preoccupied in a way, like what negative impact it can have: insomnia, sexual dysfunction, flow, and spontaneity. Uh, Insomnia, I guess, it is something we all have felt, if not before in the lockdown period or something. We at least have a period when we were not able to sleep. Why? Because we kept analyzing or over analyzing, and our mind kept we kept thinking like, what will happen next? What if there's nothing next or something like that? We all had that. We all had those thoughts, right? Here, the author discusses like this is the problem of being preoccupied. We we want to sleep. We know that if we don't, we will have consequences tomorrow. We want to get to wake up early and all those things. But we we keep thinking, and we have this tendency to judge ourselves or judge others, I guess, and creating all those things in our mind. Just a second. Okay, I was just reading the message from chat box. Um, Here it states like people often describe the flow experience by saying they lose themselves in the activity. This characterization seems apt because they did indeed lose their self. There are certain situations when we don't have a track of time. We were so involved in that process or in that thing what we were doing that we lose ourselves, and that is the ultimate goal what we want. We if we want to indulge in any activity, if we keep ourselves aside and get involved in it to such an extent that we lost we don't keep a track of time, or we don't keep what others are thinking and what might happen next, that is something we want to achieve. But that is rarely a case, especially these days, where a lot of certain things keep popping in our mind. What next? What, like many of you are right now might be thinking, when will this end? Right? What will I do next? You are here, but you are preoccupied. Like, I have to go for dinner. I have not taken my tea, or something like that. Right? This creates a problem, and this only arises because of the self. We are so attached to the self of our mental image. Anything?
I for one don't have a problem with staying indoors. The whole online thing, it's pretty nice. I don't have to interact with people. I don't have to go places. I can just stay inside, eat, and get fat.
Okay, but I guess most people won't agree with it.
I mean, I had to cycle like 5 kilometers to the Corona test center yesterday, and it was not fun. It was not fun at all.
Okay. Oh, I guess most of the people are agreeing with you. Oh, yeah. At least someone's there who does not.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we have all become introvert. A hell lot of introvert, I guess.
Yeah, it's less about
After,
introvert and more about the fact that my joints hurt like hell. I can barely sit upright.
okay. Next slide, I guess. Okay, here the author talks about how to quite the topic. I know most of you don't agree that it is a problem, but uh, I guess I didn't explain it very well, or once you read the chapter, you will get it, that it is quite a problem of living in our own world, or having only thoughts about the self. So here he discusses about meditation and what effect it can have. But he clearly states that the goal is not to eliminate the self, but rather to use it only when necessary. Like, continuously living in the self world is absolutely, I guess, I at least think that it's not a good habit. And through meditation, we can quiet the self and eliminate it, not to such extent that we can switch it on when necessary, or keep it keep it to a minimal that doesn't affect us in long run.
So the way you
So
can understand it is that there's a lot of noise inside our head, and we are often freaking out about stuff. And if you do meditation, it'll help calm you down, so that when you interact with people, you're not, you're not. I mean, you're not freaking out anymore.
yeah, like that is all what meditation is about, right? Keeping us calm and at peace with ourselves and with the world. That is what is being discussed here. Uh, I don't know if there's someone who practices meditation actively. Is there someone in the meeting?
Yeah,
Well, I've learned
I
meditation, but I don't practice it actively.
yeah, I've been meditating since my 6th grade actually.
Sorry, what?
I've been practicing meditation since my sixth grade, so it's like a daily habit for me. I was forced into it,
Oh,
but I'm happy they forced it on me.
Hey, my dad tries to force it on me, and sometimes I think he's right.
Yeah, meditation is like a cheat code, I believe. It really calms your nerves down, and
You
it's
know,
a cheat code.
I mean, meditation is fine, but when you associate meditation with things like religion and stuff, then it's like
Oh,
yikes for me. So yeah.
yeah, I completely understand. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not
same. Yeah. Dheeraj,
the
how you do it meditation? You keep it away from religion, God, or what?
yeah, but that is the point, right? If we connect it with religion, then also we are doing something for satisfying the self, right? There is something linking it with God or our God specifically, and that will disrupt the whole point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think God and the self are things that belong together, strictly speaking. And then there's the whole debate over the fact that man is the one who created the concept of God. It's kind of off topic, but your wall is nice. Like you have a natural green screen behind you.
But yet, even the thinking God and divine while meditation or praying, or if it gives
Yeah, man. Like
happiness, pleasure,
I
peace of
can't
mind,
vibe with that because
it's
I
not a
mean,
big deal. It can be.
religion and I fell out hard years ago, so I don't believe in God anymore. So unfortunately,
Please,
Yeah.
would you
Because
meditate
for kids or from
about, I
childhood,
guess,
it
religion
can be
or
easy to develop
spirituality?
a rational mindset.
exactly. I mean, if you have a rational mindset, then obviously there is no space for God. Believing in God as an adult is like adults believing in Santa Claus.
Uh, Religion says don't think, just believe whatever we say.
Yep.
Guys, I think it's going a bit off
I
topic.
guess
Yes,
it
yes,
will
I agree. It's
create.
going a bit off
Yeah,
topic. Sorry about
exactly.
that.
And that will create a lot of debate too, I guess.
Hey, people will start sending me death threats.
Yeah, it happens. People have been killed. Yeah, it's pretty obvious with atheists and rationalists.
I'm sorry I got disconnected, I guess. We were talking about meditation. Uh, Dheeraj, can you share with us some benefits you felt or anything you experienced?
I don't think that anyone over here has to hear about the benefits of meditation, because I believe everyone knows about meditation and has heard about meditation. I mean benefits and all. So I believe you become a bit more aware of your thoughts and all. You can draw this line between you can basically feel it while you're meditating, like uh, you are not your thoughts, and this becomes a bit philosophical and all of that. And but not going deeper, you just become more peaceful. Let's just end on those lines. I won't go deeper. You just have this mental peace, and you can just live peacefully, you can live happily. So yeah.
Just to add on, like if it's a experience, like if you do meditation, you put yourself first, then your thought. Actually, you can separate everything in the mind that this should be and this should be not. It's make things very easy. Not हमारे thoughts चले नहीं जाते हैं, but that makes it easy for us to किसको बाहर निकालना है दिमाग से, किस चीज को नहीं निकालना है. तो yeah.
Am I having some connectivity issues on my side?
We can hear you.
No, I didn't get what the last person just said.
Yeah, her voice broke a bit, but you can continue, I guess.
Yeah. Telling us about it and ending it with a positive.
Is it just me, or is Ashwarya having connection issues?
I think she has.
I think I am not able to hear.
I think Aishwarya has issues. Even I was not able to hear. I thought it was me.
Wow.
Oh, I'm really sorry.
Yeah, God,
I'm
you are
audible.
audible. Yeah, Ashwarya, we can't hear you.
Am I audible?
Yeah, now you're audible.
Yeah. I don't know what I said and you people heard. I was just saying that I really like the idea what the author did about this chapter, that he told us all the negative impacts of what living in our mental world can have, being preoccupied with ourselves can have, and ending it with a positive note like, don't worry, you can have a check on it. You can practice meditation, you can quiet yourself and use it only when it's necessary and not ponder it all the time. Right. With this, I guess we are done with the chapter. And I'll hand it over to you, Sonali.
Okay, so here we come to the end of the session of this session. Session number 1, we discussed chapter 1, chapter 2. We had a great discussion as well about self-consciousness, about what's the differences between humans, animals, what makes us different, about things that at least I have answered some of the questions that I had. It was good knowing about others' opinions. It was really good knowing about others' opinions. So uh, I would like to thank all the attendees, and to all the attendees present over here, the membership form and the feedback form will be put again in the chat box. The attendees are requested to fill any form of feedback or suggestion or appreciation or even comments. We will take it positively. And I would like to thank all the attendees for the wonderful interaction and sharing your opinion with us. Apart from that, talking about the winners for the quiz, it is the first prize has been banked by Gargi, if I'm pronouncing it right, and second by Sai Teja, third by our first speaker, Dheeraj. Thank you. Have a great evening, you all.
A really nice session.
Thank
Have a
you.
great evening. It was a great session.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone. Bye.
participating.
Have a nice
Have a nice evening.